Welcome, Anand. It's a real pleasure to have you with us. Anand Deshpande, you all got his CV. We sent it around so that everyone would have some background on you. So I won't spend time on introducing you, but I will mention a couple of things. And the couple of things that I'll mention is, one of my first most pleasurable interactions with Anand was when I got this invitation from Anand to come to Persistent for a talk that was being given by R.K. Lakshman. And as many of you who know me well would know, I am a huge Lakshman fan. So I went. So it was my first time at Persistent. And the talk was really interesting. And Persistent was really interesting. And Anand, you should talk about Lakshman and how you came to invite him and what got you interested in him as well, because he settled in Pune in the last years of his life. But Persistent is one of our most successful IT firms. It's a firm that has particular differentiated offerings, which is an important aspect and makes it different to much of the IT services industry in the country. And I think, we'll talk more. Very good to talk about that. And it's very much of a homegrown Pune-based firm, which operates globally. In fact, KPIT and Persistent are the two. I think Persistent started maybe 5 years before KPIT, around the same time. In the 90s. And they're both two homegrown IT success stories from Pune with two homegrown entrepreneurs. So Anand, wonderful to have you with us. And I wonder if we could start by you just telling us a little bit about what was life like growing up and how did you come to start Persistent?
Okay, so first, thanks a lot for inviting me. I have high regard for you. You had come to our office for the first time I heard you speak was when you talked about economics and various other things. And that was the first time I got really to see your work and what you had done at Stanford. And whenever I have anything where something is too complex, I call up Naushad. So it's an honor to be here and thanks for inviting me. And looking forward to an interaction and learning from you. So very excited to be here. Since you want to start from the beginning, let me just share a few things. So I grew up in Bhopal. My father worked for Bharat Heavy Electricals. So he was an engineer and I grew up in the Vale Township. I went to Campion School, Bhopal. I did my higher secondary from there, which was 11th. The interesting thing about growing up in a township like it was when I grew up in Bhopal in the 70s and 80s was, so the unique thing is that in Bhopal there were 30,000 plus people in the township, a large township. And they had this concept of graduate apprentice, which is graduates engineering. We all lived in the same neighborhood. All the parents were kind of same age. We had lots of kids our age. Everyone was an engineer. And everyone knew everyone and their kids and what they were doing. So you did anything, your mother would know. So it was like very intense. You went to school, everyone's grades, everyone knew, not just my parents, other parents knew what you were doing. And it was a very nice environment in some ways, and very different. I didn't want my kids to do that, so we lived very separately. But that's sort of what the situation was. So everyone knew everyone. We grew up in the township. And engineering was something that everyone did. So I ended up in Kharagpur. So I did a BTech from Kharagpur. I started in Aero for 2 years and then shifted to computer science. My batch was the third computer science batch from any IIT for that matter. So it's very early days. And I did a degree in computer science and engineering from Kharagpur. And then This was early 80s. 80s. I graduated in 84. I finished in 79 with 11th from Bhopal. And then 79 to 84, I was in Kharagpur. And then 80s, everyone applied abroad. Everyone got scholarships. I got mine. I went to Indiana University, Bloomington. So I did a master's PhD there, 84 to 89. And then I got a job at HP Labs. And I joined that. And then I worked there for a while and then came back and started Persistent. I can, of course, nuance this further, but that's the sort of the chronological order of what happened.
So when you started Persistent, it started as, at that time, I think the dominant customer, and even today for the largest Indian software firms, the financial sector is the largest customer. Did you start with?
No, so let me share with you my starting story.
Yeah.
Which is actually quite fascinating. Okay. So I did a PhD in computer science. I was working in Hewlett Packard Laboratories, which was one of the top places at that point.
Yep.
And HP and IBM were the two largest sort of coolest software companies. HP was always the coolest software company. IBM in the late 80s, early 90s was a suit tie company. We were the sort of t-shirt company. And at that point in 89, when I joined HP, both Bill and Dave, which is the founders of HP, were both around. And
yeah,
the building that we worked in, which was where the research lab was, Bill Hewlett was around. So he would walk around the aisles. And HP had a very HP way culture, which was very unique and very different from any other company. So it's the best place to be working as the first job in your life.
In fact,
he has written a book on that, and it's
called the HP way.
It's called the HP way. We were told what is HP way as part of the company. Yeah. So it was so the culture discussion we can have later, but HP was a fantastic place to work. So when I was at Bloomington and otherwise also, the family was kind of important, and people had said, why don't you come back to India? And I had always felt that I should come back to India. So when I joined HP, my boss said, you want to file for H1 green card, whatever, which was pretty easy to get. I said, no, I'm going to work here 18 months and go back. So that was my I put myself a thing. And the reason I did that, I'll share the story as well. So in 89, 90 actually, and you may have been around that time as well, there was a very nice article that came in the Economic Times, which was the X+1 syndrome. Are you familiar with that? So X+1 syndrome. So what it said, this was I think in early 90. And it said that, and Indians who sit in the US, they always say, oh, I'll finish my PhD, I'll work for 1 year and go back.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, yeah, the green card, let's just get the green card, work for 1 year and then go back. And then let's get married 1 year. And this never ends, right? So I had so many friends who would buy second-hand cars. Oh, we have to go back. So there, So it was this whole culture of some event and then I'm going to go back, and never did. Many of my contemporaries just never came back, right? So I sort of felt that this was a good thing. So I should decide either I'm staying and then buy a boat to just make the statement, or just go back before that X+1 heads back. So I used that J1. I had a J1 visa. I had 18 months and said, okay, let me just use that 18 months, 17 months and 15 days. I came back, right? Actually, to the week, I returned back on the 18th of October in 1990. So long back. Now, the other story of it, which is kind of very interesting, is that in March, so in the Bay Area, they had this thing called SIPA, which is Silicon Valley Indian Professionals Association, which is the precursor to TIE.
Yeah.
Okay. And I attended that event, and Vittal, who was the Secretary Department of Electronics, he had visited us in early March, late February, early March. And he made a speech and said, software, we want to do software export, all this other stuff. So we are setting up Software Technology Park, and we have CRAC, and we will set one in Pune, and I'm encouraging people to come back. So this sort of timing worked out very well for me. I was going to come back, and I said, this is cool. This guy is saying, come back. Let me use that opportunity to come back. So I wrote to my father, and incidentally, at the same time, my father had moved to Pune by 82, and he was working for Kirloskar Pneumatics. And they had some issues, and they retired a lot of people early. He was 55 when he got a chance to take a voluntary retirement, and he took it. And then he was kind of there, and I told him that I was going to come back. Well, that was always assumed back home. meaning it would have been the other way around if I had stayed back. And then he said, "Oh, okay, let me go check." So they had a meeting in CDAC, and they gave away places to companies, and we had not registered or anything like that. So he said, "Okay, fine. When you come back, we'll do that." So it's fine. And then I came back in October 1990. And I'll give you one quiz question and then try to give you the scenario of the early days. So, can you name who was the Prime Minister of India in October 1990? That's not correct. That is absolutely wrong. Not yet. VP Singh was the Prime Minister. So, what is VP Singh famous for? Unfortunately, only one thing. So, 1 week.
You remember the wonderful Lakshman cartoons when he depicted VP Singh? Because, that he kept the
Actually, I wasn't in India when that was happening.
the same size and the man kept shrinking. It was quite wonderful, actually, over a few months.
So he was the Prime Minister of India. And within the week after I came back, Rath Yatra happened. And by the end of the month, October 1990, the government collapsed. And very soon, Chandrasekhar became the Prime Minister of India. So that's the context, okay? Other people ask me, what's the best time to start? The worst time in India to be starting a business, okay? So that's sort of when I came back and, yeah, let's get started, right? So I say, oh, yeah, we have to get this place in Software Technology Park. Now, I'll give you a little bit of context of Software Technology Park in Pune. This is the first Software Technology Park set up in India, set up by the government. And why is Software Technology Park important? Because current prevailing duties for computers was 300%. Okay, so you buy a computer, you import a computer, whatever, 300% on the. We are not making computers by then, so 300% duty. So you have to work in their bonded warehouse. SEEPS was the model. They created one here. So they took 2 guys in software in Bosri. They have this building called Electronic Sadan 1, 2, 3. So they took 2 guys in Electronic Sadan 2, and they created 2 guys, total 4,000 square feet, 4,000 square, 8,000 square. This is India's vision of Software Technology Park. And they gave it to 14 companies. Okay, so each company got 300, 350 square feet of gas that were given. Thermax had one, by the way. And DSS, so back sort of software companies. Yeah, Thermax software was there, and they had one guy, 300, 400 square feet. Since I saw your logo, I think something. So they gave it away, and then I didn't get any of that space because I was not incorporated. By the time we incorporated and applied, they said, "Well, we have given it to all the 14 companies, so we are going to give you another one in number 3. Why don't you get started with other things?" By the way, in the meantime, I'll share with you the story of my early customers also, because that is also very interesting how it started. So they said, okay, we are going to take some space in electronics at the number 3 and we'll give you some space there. And then, okay, I'm applying for bank loans. I said I would apply for a bank loan. So I needed about 7 lakh rupees. So my father had worked with Bank of India because that was the banker for Kirloskar. So we went to him, very fine. Oh, great. We'll give you 6-7 lakhs. Oh, no big deal. And I filed the papers. I put in everything. And they say, well, we were told that this is priority sector, so it needs to go to Mumbai. So 7 lakhs. And I'll tell you the story of how long it took to get the money and all the other story. Let me go through this chronology. So I don't have any space, and Chandrasekhar government comes. What is the Chandrasekhar government known for? Gold sending the gold. That actually happened because the guy who was on the plane, on that gold plane, eventually became a director at Persistent. So he used to be working for the Reserve Bank of India. So it really happened. But it was like we were broke as broke can be, right? So there was no money. Nobody was interested in doing anything. None of these places were occupied. I was very frustrated. So I'll share with you a story which just gives an example of how government officials can make a difference in my life. Again, so I'll give you this N-Vittal story. So I wrote a letter to him, and I remember the dates very vividly because they were so important to our existence in a sense, right? So March 10, 1991. Okay, I've been back for almost 5-6 months, and nothing much has moved. I cannot start business. I have friends who are going to give me work, but nothing can be started. So I wrote a letter to the secretary. At that point, you would write a speak post. So Sunday was 10th. I wrote the letter on the 10th, mailed it on the 11th, Monday. It reached him on the 12th, the next day. And I get a call from his office. Of course, I have met him several times in between. I've talked to several DOE officials. Usual stuff. Go there and good talk, but nothing is moving, right? So I wrote to him that, hey, you gave this big speech. I showed up on the response to that. I have orders, placed orders, documents in it. I have a lot of documentation. I've applied here. I've been waiting for this. This guy said all this stuff. So big fat five. I sent it to him. So his guy called me, one gentleman, Oberoi. Oh, sir, आपने लिख दिया सेक्रेटरी को, क्या होगा, क्या हुआ आपका प्रॉब्लम, आपको मालूम है प्रॉब्लम क्या है. So ठीक है, let's see, सेक्रेटरी को ने कल बुलाया. So he had a meeting with the secretary. The secretary called the director SKP Pune to come to Delhi. Now the problem in Delhi, we had 3 flights a week to Delhi. 3 flights a week. So Wednesday they didn't have a flight. Thursday's flight, he took the flight to go to Delhi. Met the secretary. The secretary asked him, how many of your people are already using these places? He said, nobody. Then he says, do this, vacate your office, give it to him. And you move to the last office. When the last one goes away, you will have a problem. We'll deal with it at that point. This guy is harassing you and me. Just give him the place. Let him at least get started. We'll see what happens. Great. So I got a call from his office. I'd come tomorrow, pick up the keys. So Friday, 15th, right? I get the keys. And 16th, I clean the place up. And 17th is Gudi Padwa. I said, wow, such a beautiful day. Let's do Gudi Padwa as our quote unquote the annual day. And ever since then, every year we have something on Gudi Padwa. And so 17th we got started, 17th March 91. And this was essential because otherwise we couldn't have even done anything. So the story, the morale here, the story of that I want to share is that, sometimes individual like Vittal can make a huge difference. Now, these guys were sitting around on these papers for many, many days, and anybody could have done this, so to say. But the bureaucracy process, he hadn't applied all this other stuff. So he was able to just get it moving, and that changed our complete thing. Otherwise, I would have been frustrated for another 2 months. And I'd also written that, I can always go back or, what the hell, right? I had a PhD. I was not like I couldn't get a job. And US, that point I had already told my professor that you can always hire me as a postdoc. So it was easy to get back. But the fact that he did it for us was really important. And I wrote to him on our 30th anniversary when we did this. And he was kind of very old by then. He's no more. He died after that. But he picked up my call and his son saw the message. So my dad will be so happy if you call him. I said, sure, I'd be so happy to call him. And it was very nice of him to do that, is how I see it. But I tell this story to every bureaucrat who says it can't be done. And you probably ran into Vittal after that as well, because he became CVC and many other things on that. So this is how we started. And then just since I mentioned 2 things, I said we started with a bank loan, as I told you. So we got the bank loan submitted, and this is again a very interesting but bizarre story. So, do you know Ramani, S. Ramani? He used to be the director of NCST. So, NCST is the National Center for Software Technology. So, it is in Mumbai.
Yeah.
A lot of people, this is really a premier, again, one of those premier software institutions systematically decimated by the government. But he was the head of that place. And they used to have the email access. So, he gave me an email on internet, shakti.ncst.ornet.in. He ran
They used to hand out the
Earnet. So he was the Earnet guy, right? He was very generous, and I visited him, and I had time, right? Nothing else was going on. So I met him. I got to FATAC and IIT Bombay and all the other network. I kind of built at that point. And then Ramani gave me an email address. So I said, fine, great. I was using that email. Just give you the story part of it. So I'm in Pune. I have to dial in to get to Mumbai, Shakti. I'm using I had a 9600 baud modem, and I'm dialing it. And now, we had this pulse rates. Every 3 minutes it would beep. So I have to reprogram the modem so that it doesn't die when that thing happens, and all kinds of shit we did. But we were dialing it. Now, the cost of dialing in and back was pretty expensive, actually. You know, you do run a 30-minute call, 40-minute call. So I had a second class pass between Pune and Mumbai, 180 rupees per month. It was much cheaper for me to go to Mumbai, check email, and come back than dial into Mumbai to check. Okay, this is 91, right? And so that's what I used to do. Every Thursday, we had a sort of holiday, whatever. Every week, at least once or twice, I would go to Mumbai. Mumbai Deccan Queen is the only way to get to Mumbai.
Yeah.
So you go to Deccan Queen, pass holders Dabba, you go in there, you then land into VT, and you go to Bank of India, meet the lady, say, Madam, what is happening? Oh, yeah, there's some story. Oh, can you answer this question? Answer the question. Move the file a little bit, comes back again to the same desk, but you move it, spend the first 1 hour, then take the local, go to
It sounds like registering Nayanta this year.
the station feel bad, good days have to come. So you go to Zuhu and then do the same thing and then meet them, check your mail, come back. So this was out. Anyway, so I got a loan approved in the end of May. Okay. Now this is again a very interesting timing. You would know this. So May 1991, okay, was a very kind of a very important month in the history of Indian economy, politics, everyone else. So Rajiv Gandhi got assassinated. Election got held half, and then the other half happened later, and Narasimha Rao Chance became Prime Minister. So my loan got approved, but was not disbursed. I had equipment ordered, which was sitting in the airport because of demurrage and all that. So I had to go back. So we borrowed a lot of money from friends and family and got that equipment out. And by the time I got my loan, they changed the repo rates. Okay. So they couldn't disburse the money. They said, sorry, I can't give you any more money. So what the hell, man? I spent 7 months getting the damn thing to you. Now you tell me that
there was the big devaluation that took place.
That also happened. No, so the other part of that story, right? So the devaluation part. But before that, they changed the repo, the rate that there's a deposit rate that banks have to keep, right? That got increased. Basically, squeezed the credit. So my approved loan, he couldn't give me the money. And then the interesting thing that happened, which was kind of the savior for me, and I say this. So I got back in October 1990. The first thing I did was get married. Okay. And we got married on 5th of December. I met her within 3 days and we said yes. And within 6 weeks, we were married. And I filed my income tax returns to the US, having worked 10 months. Tax deduction as single, but got filed as married. And I got $6,000-7,000 of refund after the devaluation.
Yeah.
So it was like 2 lakh rupees. The entire company, my investment in the company of 2 lakhs, 100% of it, everything that I own today has come from that tax refund of getting married at the right time. So I could get that tax refund and that money, about 6 lakhs, 25, but something like 1.6 lakhs came from there, another 30-40 lakhs, 1,000 from
That's probably
1.6 lakhs.
But that's probably the most positive story about the IRS in the world.
40,000 rupees here and there. Okay. So 2 lakh rupees. That was my investment in the company. And you can look me up and see my current net value. Ask ChatGPT, it will tell you. It's all come from that 2 lakh rupees. Okay. So that's like a very interesting starting point. I think the other interesting thing why I say this is also, of course, is a good story to talk about. But more importantly, if you think about India and software, in the 1990, we were about $30 million. Today, we are $350 billion. So I've been very fortunate to have kind of been part of this exciting journey over the last 35 years of getting a company from whatever. I was a small business, but over the years, but over these 35 years, I've seen the industry build in a way, right? So that has been a very fascinating journey for me. The other kind of thing that happened in my where I feel very fortunate in some sense is the fact that when I started the business, I was 28. Okay. So all the other guys who ran these software businesses, meaning my contemporary guys, they were all much older than me. And they were all business people. I was a geek, I still am, but I was a geek, right? I was a PhD in computer science. There were any other CEOs and companies there who were CS people. They were all business guys. And we were like, no, I want to write code and I'm doing this because I love writing code, right? So it was a very different thing. And I got to meet a lot of people who were many years senior to me, who mentored and helped me through my journey. Just because I was this young, crazy kid who seemed like very different from the rest of the gang. And I learned a lot from that. So that was the other thing I wanted to make a point. I don't know, I'm shaking too much probably.
No, no, no. It's a great story. What? How did you differentiate? Because that's so it merged over time, and it's a very different story to the rest of the soft games.
Okay, so let me share how it happened and what happened as well. And I'll also link it to what I talk about a lot these days. So what I've been, so let me give you what I say now, and then I'll connect this to the stuff that happens. So what I tell everyone these days is that growth in companies is a sequence of S curves. Okay, you do some things, you see growth, and you flatten out. And transition from one S to the next S is very hard. It's traumatic, it's very painful, but essential. If you can't make that transition, you'll stay and then decline. And there's enough theories about the declines, and there's this point of inflection according to Andy Grove, and he talks about this decline model. And what works in one orbit doesn't work in the next orbit. And it's very dramatic, and especially the hardest things to scale is the people. And this transition is very hard. Okay, so this is sort of very important to note. Now, regarding the differentiation thing, I will share with you that. So I started in 1991. Where did we start? Okay, 2 projects I got from friends. So they're also kind of interesting stories. And then I'll relate to that question. So the first project that I got was from a friend who was my colleague in Indiana University, where we were doing PhDs together. So he wanted to build a massively parallel database. Actually, he wanted to build a massively parallel system. At that point, there was a whole concept of connection machines and neural network types of early days in the 90s. So he filed for 7 SBIRs. So SBIRs is the government of US government has a $50,000 plus top up of $250 if you get the first one right. So he filed 7 of them to build chips. And of those 7, one of them was to build a database on the chip that he would build. The only one that got funded was the one I wrote with him, which was the SBIR for database on the chip. So I said, hey, this is mine as well. So he agreed to say that, okay, fine, I'll commit to it $20,000 worth of software work for me on this. So you build me the query processor for this massively parallel SIMD. Very cool project. And the second one is like equally interesting. So I was at HV Labs, and there was a French guy who was from a French company called O2 Technologies. And he was doing a summer sabbatical in Palo Alto. And he was living just across where I used to live. And whenever his wife took his car, he would come by and say, can you drop me home? I said, sure, why not? Senior guy, right? So great chance to sit next to him for like 40 minutes while you drive home. So we would talk. And then once he asked me, what are you going to do? What's your plan? I said, I'm going back to it. I said, I don't believe it. Nobody, these guys, nobody goes back. And he was one of those very typical French guys. He would curse every time. He's very kind of, look at this US, these guys, look at the bread. They can't make bread. You look at this thing. People are fat. All kinds of stuff. And I said, hey, I'm going back. He said, I don't believe you. Never going back. I said, okay, if I go back and write to you, will you give me any business? So he says, if you go back and write to me from there, yes, I will give you business. And he did. So those were my first 2 customers. Right? And The third one is most interesting actually, and this will relate to the question you asked. My third customer is Microsoft. Yeah, this is 92 now. And by the end of 91, the business is kind of, we have 6, 7 people, we have 2 machines, and these two are small startups. Any one of them could pack off. Very dicey situation, right? And then I happened to be with a friend. I spoke to her. She used to be also with me in Indiana. And then she said, oh, we have this. How many of you know Fortran? Have you heard of Fortran? Yeah. So they had a Fortran compiler that they were building on, and they were building it for the new machine, which was the 32-bit architecture. And they had a 16-bit Windows and all that. I don't want to get into the details, but anyway, there was a small piece, like a washer in the whole car, that they had forgotten to provision. Okay. And she said, nobody wants to do the shitty work of translating from 16-bit to 32-bit. And I don't know how they can ship the product without that, but nobody's thinking about it. That's what she told me. She said, why don't you introduce me to your boss? Maybe I'll do it for you. So I called him now and I told him that I can do this and all that. He says, okay, do it. So he gave me the project, okay, $25,000. But this project was signed by the office of the CEO, which was Mike Maples, who's directly in Bill Gates' office. $25,000. First time they had outsourcing Microsoft. Okay, Microsoft already was not as big as it is today, but it was a premium company, right? So I got this project and then he did it, which is again another story which I will not, because it'd be like 2 days if he has just keep telling you all these stories. But anyway, so got this project and then things kind of changed for us. Because anytime I could go to the US, say, oh, Microsoft works with me and all that. Now, most of my expertise, and I stayed in that area, has been with databases. Right? I'm a data guy. So that's the name of the company, Persistent Systems. We do data systems. So so my story in the early days was I was selling myself and would be, so it's like if you go to any car company and you're able to say, I can reduce your fuel costs, I can reduce this, that, anybody is interested. Everybody thinks they want to do it, but it's going to take you time, but I can do it for you now, here, today. Let's do it, right? So selling was not terribly difficult, right? So this is how we kind of did work, and we got work from lots of database product companies. Now, 96, 97, this .com kind of became a big thing. So I got a lot of work from startups in the Silicon Valley. That was a network. I knew friends there, and that's what is going on. Things were going well. But we were kind of randomly doing things. Right? We wouldn't call ourselves leaders. And we touched 100 people for the first time in 1999, 2000. So 9 years into the business. Now, 2001, .com burst happened. So already now, while we were doing all this esoteric work, we were already unique, but not unique and differentiated, but not particularly well organized in that sense. Everyone else was doing body shopping and Y2K. We did not touch any of those 2 areas. I did not do any H1s at all. And we were just purely like, I want to do cool stuff and all this. But we were very small, right? Now, 2001, when the market kind of tanked with this whole thing, we got into a situation where after that happened, everyone had 2 things had happened. One is Y2K had completed. And then this whole .com burst had gone through. All the companies in the market like TCS and everyone now was everywhere. Outsourcing, IT outsourcing was the buzz, right? So all of a sudden, a lot of people started to move offshore and all these other things. And we found that we were like a chiller company, 120 people, who the cares about. So this is when we spent a lot of time thinking about how do we win in this kind of situation. And I had met a few friends and other things, and they told me a few things that you have to be a leader in your market. So we created a category called outsourced product development. As different from IT outsource. So we didn't say we do IT. We moved to saying we do software. And we sort of created this category that we are outsourced product development. And the way we defined it is that in an IT project, you have well-defined requirements and you do trade-off between time and money. But when you do a product, the first thing you decide is when you want to ship the product. Then you decide how much you want to spend and you build the best possible product in the time and money. You go to any product company, they get it. Right? So we started to say that we are not IT outsourcing. So we cut the market down. We did this. We got few other companies to do it. I got a consultant to help basically create a category around it. And we just created a category around outsourced product development. That really helped us a lot. So the learning from this, which which I tell everyone else right now, is that in any market, right? And you guys are all marketing and other people, you will know. There are books written about this fact that in any market, the leaders get the real stuff and everyone else get the worms. So typically they'll say top three in any market get 70% of the market, and everyone else gets the rest. Right. So this is one of those Raj Sisodia and so the book by Raj Sisodia and Jagdish. No, the fellow from Emory now. He used to be at MIT. Jagdish said, they have a book on this thing. So I said, hey, this makes sense, but we are such a machhar company trying to say we are top three. It doesn't make sense. The game is not, and this I tell everyone, the game is to define the market in a way where you can be a leader in that market. So the game is to define the market carefully. So we said we are not IT outsourcing, we are product outsourcing. So we restricted our market very small. We made it much smaller than the overall thing, but we anointed ourselves as the leaders in that market. And HCL and Wipro both had more business in our market than us for many years. But they had so much other IT outsourcing business that they would never go out and compete with us to say, we are like this. We would always say, Arey, the guys who are selling you don't understand code. They are just a seller. So his job will end when he's done with the deal. Otherwise, he's writing the code for you, right? So there's a very, very heartfelt to the product engineering guy who was building the product. I know you, I know what you do, and let's open your code and let's write on the board kind of stuff. So it was this kind of stuff, very easy to sell in this kind of a small market with small set of people, and very differentiated from that. And I always believe that for every company to succeed at every stage, of course, your differentiation needs to feel different because the scale at which you are operating needs to be different. You pick a market that's so small that you cannot grow, then you are taking some. So, but in general, in any market, you have to be a leader to win. And creating leadership is about defining the market where you can be there. Okay. So if you are say a $1 billion company and you want to be a leader in that market, then you need to define the market as about $5 billion. So you're 20% market share, which gives you good enough chance to be a leader in that. So the game that I realized is more about defining the market carefully so that everybody in the market, so to say, that you have defined, knows you as the leader in that market. It doesn't matter if the rest of the world doesn't matter, because not the trillions of dollars of market that is kind of irrelevant, not really my market. And I found this to be very useful for, even in your companies, you might find this very useful. If you're building products or you're building solutions or whatever, if you can create that differentiation, this is where it is. Because when you are selling, it's not about selling, it's about somebody buying from you. When a buyer looks at his list of who should I buy from, they go through certain channels and they look for leaders in that market. So if you are included in that leader, then you get the tailwind in some sense. People just come to you. And that is very essential for companies at that size. So just to put that's our second orbit. We grew from about 2001, that's when we did, till about 2008, that thing worked for us. And we started with about 120 people. In 2003, we were 250. And by 2008, we were 2,500. So that spurt that we got was because we sort of differentiated ourselves, very clear what we are doing. We knew why will people join us. And that whole ethos that we created was very, very relevant. Sorry, I'm giving you very long answers.
That's very you. So,
you want to take any questions?
Shall we? Yeah, let's take some questions.
Anybody who wants to interrupt or anything?
Yeah. But anyone, or I'll ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
A question, and then people can prepare their question meanwhile. When you were talking just before the session, you talked about scaling.
Yes.
And I think you come this later.
Yeah, so this is, so I run a course right now. So you'll read all about it. Yes. So let me give you a little bit of other context. So today what happened? So, okay, I started the business in 1990. 30 years in, almost 2019, I was near 60, and there was this whole discussion about CEO and chairman being two different people, all that stuff. So I felt, if I have to look at my next 30 years, I just don't want to be doing the same shit. I should do something different. So I hired a CEO and, he's running the business. So I do all these not so random, but other things. Yeah. So one of the other things that I do is I have three broad buckets in which I am spending my time. One sec is around entrepreneurship, because I really, really believe, and we have an economist here. Reality is that we have a lot of people and not enough jobs. And the only way we'll get jobs is if we get job creators, not the job seekers. And I really believe that if you look at large numbers, most of the jobs are in the small job situation. So I run a foundation called Deyasra Foundation. We focus on nano entrepreneurship, 10 lakhs to 1 crore. We have about 450,000 in that network and lots of good stuff going on. I have 40 people team full-time helping this. That's one program. The other program I run, which is what I mentioned to you, is we call second orbit. And I'm trying to extend it to next orbit also. The idea here is that the scaling transition from one orbit to the other orbit is very hard for founders in the second orbit. And it's hard for the companies in every orbit, but this is the change. So what should you do to help founders build muscle so that you can make that transition? So that's where I ran a course. I've run this twice now at GoPlay Institute, where we did one afternoon every Saturday, every month, one Saturday, 6 hours for 12 months. So this is like a lot of work, lots of slides. And then I'll be doing this at Desai Sethi School of Entrepreneurship at IIT Bombay along with NASSCOM. So NASSCOM gives me 25 companies. And we have 5 cohorts right now. The next one we are doing with NASSCOM is on 21st of November through 2-3 days residential, then follow up. So how do you scale, right? That's one area that I work on. The second area that I work a lot in is, I'm a geek, right? I have to have something technology related stuff in my thing. So data and AI is sort of my core business that I really track very closely. And then I am trying to apply that to other areas, mainly biology and health. I'm really fascinated by what can happen in that. And I'm quite deeply involved in that. I work with the Department of Biotechnology as the co-chair of BRIC, and I'm thinking a lot about biology and data, AI, computer science. That's the second area. And third thing that I've been thinking a lot about that came from something else, but now I'm quite seriously about future jobs, work, and how to manage careers. Okay, so professional careers. So where do some people kind of in their mid 40s get? So let me make a statement here and then I'll see if I should retract it. People in their mid 40s are the dukhiest people in the career path. How many of you are in mid 40s? Lots of. So mid 40s people kind of are the dukhiest in the thing. After that, things get better.
Some people put their hands up who hate destined in their mid 40s.
See, but the reality is that there is a transition that happens in mid 40s. And then if you can't ride the other end, then it sort of hits the wall. So why is that the case, and what can you do in your 20s and 30s so that you can be good for 40s and 50s? So I have a program I run on that topic, and a lot of things I have on that topic. So those are the things that I'm doing right now to sort of keep busy, let's say. But I'm busy.
Right. So I'll start at the back with Josefa.
So if you can share a little bit about where you're coming from and what your organization. Yeah, so I get a little context then.
So I was there for Kachwala, part of the
Okay.
sales and marketing. Where we asking the most common question, you might be a company, AI, how the way it is coming, especially in your area, which, about coding, etc.
Yeah.
Typically, the view which comes is it is going to impact coding P2A. So, therefore, what do you think is how you perceive?
Yeah, I'll answer that question. Let's take one or two more about.
Can I ask the inverse of that?
Yeah.
Which is, what is AI going to do to the IT industry? Flip it to the other side, which is what is AI going to do to the non-IT industry? To all of us.
Yeah, I flip the AI question because it's always asked this way. And I'm wondering because all of this says that we are.
One sec. No, you need
for the recording.
the mic.
Yeah.
So it assumes that we are these passive victims, and the world is going to change and we have to react to an AI change that is ordained. As opposed to saying that if we are senior leaders and policymakers and AI is something that is meant to help society, should we be deciding or directing? Because we seem to assume free market competitive forces, you're doomed, you have to react to it. As opposed to here is this wonderful tool that has the potential to do good. Shouldn't we be using policy to direct it to areas which should help the country? So I'm just arguing with the framing of the question. This is the common question, whether the night or this way.
Anybody else have a question related to this? Okay, so should we just answer this question?
Sure. Anyone else with a question related to AI? Or so, okay.
How many of you are using AI? So what do you use it for? What all have you been doing? ChatGPT types, answering questions and other prompts and other things. Creating mails, answering mails,
Writing poems.
writing mailers, poems.
Does only the one for a day.
How many of you have tried sort of writing code with AI, or you have written some code? What did you use?
Very basic database management for my own personal database, just to experience how to get with it.
So what did you use to do that?
I'm a civil engineer. I ever wrote code. This was my first experience. So I wrote
ChatGPT made you do it, or something else you use?
yeah, as it started with ChatGPT, and then it directed me within their own models.
Yeah.
Just use the mic. Use the mic.
We have the project schedules. I'm from Thermax, the EPC tutor. We have this schedule. So we have the construction thing like. So it's suppose a delay happens. The particular day job has to happen, delay happens. The activity is not over. So the trigger has to happen. So what I did is I wrote a script on the Excel part. That script goes to ChatGPT. ChatGPT corrected the script. I dies the script with the Excel and it pops up it. Again, it's have some bugs again. Took it back to the script back. With ChatGPT came the bug like days, how many days, then we should trigger. Or what is the point that we should do that? And I should put the back to the script. And
Pretty cool. So let me say the following. If I gave you a like to answer your question first, and then we'll go to the other one. If every one of you got let's not only be using that word carefully. Say some genie, let's say slave, some genie like that, who could do work for you, right? Just made you super productive. Would that be good? What would you do with that? Yeah, whatever. You do things with it, right? The problem is that who owns that genie? That's the problem. Do you own it or somebody else owns it? If somebody else owns it, then they don't need you, right? But if you can own the genie, then it's your genie, right? So then you're productive. So that's really where some of this discussion and thing comes in. But let me sort of go back and so I can give you like a 3-hour talk on just this topic, but about what's happening in AI and where do we go about. This is something that I deeply am involved in. But I'm going to give you 6 things or 6 claims or things that I would say first. And then that will help you kind of answer the questions that you ask, right? So first thing I would go and say that, yeah, AI is fantastic. It can do amazing things. There are lots of problems that we have in the world that AI can solve. No doubt about it. So who will solve them? Yeah, we can have every Indian citizen should have access to personalized learning in their own language for their own level. You can imagine whatever it takes, and yeah, somebody has to do it. So who's do it? That's a good question. So that's one corollary of that particular problem. The second thing is that AI that we see right now, I would say we are still at the beginning of the game. There's still a lot to go. And if you don't believe this, why would Mark Zuckerberg pay $100 million per person to hire these hotshot people if he thinks everything in AI is done? So there's a lot still to do in AI, even from the pure computer science side of it. We're still at the beginning. If you want to know what, we can talk about it. But these 2 things are there. Third thing is to understand is that yes, AI is going to write better programs than humans, 100%. No question about it. But if for computer science people, and this I tell students as well, if your job is to write programs, you're done. There's no way you can build. But what else would computer science people do, or what would programmers do if you have an assistant who writes better code than you? That's a good question to ask. And then I can share with you 2 hours of what you can do with that. And the example I tell people is to think about chess. Okay, and I'll come back to this in a minute. But has no chess player, including Magnus or whoever else, can beat the computer 100% of the time. 99 out of 100 times, the computer is going to beat Magnus. Magnus meaning everyone in the world. The ELO rating for the computer stockfish is 3880. Magnus at his best was 2882. So it's just that what is left to play, right? So that's a good analogy to think about how computer science people need to think about their AI, right? So yeah, AI can kill programming, but it can improve how chess has happened, and there's an interesting story there, and we can go into that. So that's the third thing I say. Fourth thing that I say is that reality is that this ChatGPT that we see and this sort of prompt-based programming is really not where AI is going to kill real jobs. Real jobs are going to get killed when you go after this agentic AI stuff. And there's a lot happening in that area. And yes, you can build amazingly productive systems. So these ChatGPT type systems will sort of migrate into co-pilots, and you can do 20-30% improvement in your performance. But if you go after building these agentic AI solutions, you get exponential improvement in the productivity of people. So it's very fascinating. And yes, it's going to completely disrupt the world in many different ways. But they're not easy to build. Okay, which means you need good people to build that kind of system. So you need somebody to build those systems, and we can go through that in a different way. So that's number 4 that I said. The fifth one, one of the things that I worry about, which has got consequences in terms of what happens, is the digital divide that is going. The separation between the haves and have-nots is going to get wider with AI. Some have access, some don't. And if you look at the total number of companies that control AI, it's such a small number that they can really mess everyone else. And we in India have completely messed ourselves up. So we have a really tough time. We can make a good story, but bad story. But really, we are, we could get shunted out of this stuff very easily if the redhead man chooses to squeeze us it somewhere. And then the last thing I would say is that, AI can be pretty disastrous if you want to look at the baddest of the situations. And if you want to see that, you should read the book by Yuval called Nexus. And he has a very negative picture. And if you hear what Jeffrey Hinton is talking, then that's really what it is. So this is the 6 things that I believe is going to happen. Now, okay, so the headline stuff of what I would say in terms of computer, IT, software, and all that. See, here's the headline problem. If you think work is a product of productivity multiplied by effort, right? Effort into productivity is work. Productivity is going up. 100% is going to go. But this is fascinating at every level. Okay, if productivity can go up like 30, 50, 70, 100%, it's very fascinating. But if productivity goes up, effort for the same work comes down 100%. Has to happen. But if for the same effort with greater productivity, no work is possible. Okay? So the way I'm thinking about it at Persistent and all that how do I create more work for the people we already have? Can we build the tools? Can we go sell? How do we position ourselves so that there's more work to go after with the same people? If I go after the same work, of course my effort comes down, and then I'm arguing with my customers who gets the benefit of that improved productivity. So if the IT engineers think that, so it's a function of how you position it, what are you selling, what is the work that you are doing, and how do you position your productivity into effort, right? Are you on the effort side of the equation? Or are you on the work side of the equation? If you're on the work side of the equation, then your productivity is your benefit. So how do you go after new work and do these things? So So this is really the issue. Now, you cannot run away from the fact that if you don't know AI, somebody with AI is going to take your job. 100% going to happen. In every industry, okay? Not just in the IT industry, in every industry. And there is a lot of AI still to come in non-computing industry. I can explain to you why I say that. But there's a lot of action that will happen in engineering and other things. We are still at the very beginning of this whole game. Okay. But it is transformational.
You have written what?
As a one,
I'm just provocating you a little bit, but
Yeah. The multiplier of productivity into effort is an efficiency side, right? So if you're releasing those hours, you just have to find an effectiveness piece, right, on the output side. Then, Naushad, your 5 lakhs versus 25,000, I was wondering why 5 lakhs can't be run as 25,000 into 20. If 25,000 is a workable scale, then why can't I run it as 25,000 into 20? Two others, slightly broader question. One is, can we look at policy the same way for a labor scarce economy with a support wage as opposed to a labor surplus economy without a support wage? So that is one difference between developed and developing markets that I think we really kind of need to think about. The second is, just in terms of structure, Europe, for instance, has been an employability market. Where people, when they graduate, they just look at being employable. It doesn't matter if I take 2 internships, don't have a job, get a job after 2 years. But in India, for instance, education is strongly tied to employment. So to shift the mindset of people from employment to employability seems to be at the heart of what you say, right? If we can create that mindset of employability, it will work. So the idea that you are kind of saying is you don't have any right to feel cheated by an organization if you lose your job on account of technology, because you should have figured out that you need to make yourself employable. And that is the only real job security anybody can have in the next 20 years. So that's
so exactly, right? So this is what I tell when I tell people about, so both in the Asra and from here, you give you headlines. Every employee, all of you are responsible for your own life and your career. You can't blame somebody else for your life and your career. It's your responsibility. So you should, and I tell you one book that influenced me, and I know you like book references, so I've been giving these around. There's a book by a friend of mine who wrote this book called Me Enterprise. It's written by a guy called Ashok Shah. Okay, it's not a very popular book, but I know the guy, so he gave me several copies, and it's a nicely the book. And this again, most of these books, they're like a 20-page PPT, but then you've read a book, so it's got all this. Give you the gist of it. The gist of the book is that I'm my own enterprise. And when I work for the company is my customer. So if I'm my own enterprise, I should make investments in myself or my own enterprise. So don't come to this course because your company is sending it to you. You come here because it's your course. You are here to learn for yourself. And if the company is not paying you, pay for it yourself and come, because this is your investment in yourself, right? Don't really come to me and say, oh yeah, you should send me this and that. You want to go, take 5 days leave and go. It's your investment. Why the hell are you dependent on companies? It's your life, your career, and your whatever the heck it is, right? So you should be responsible for your own life, your career. And here again, you go figure out AI, man. Don't ask somebody else to. If you don't figure out AI, you're going to be toast in a few years, 100% guarantee. Whether you like it or not, it's not your choice. And the company is not training me, all that. That's all bogus exercises. Okay? You have to go figure it out. Whatever area you may be in. Okay. Now let me say the other way around, going back to your sort of broader question. So this is where I tell kids as well. We are in a world where there will be no shortage of work, but huge shortage of jobs. It's your responsibility to figure out how to convert work to jobs. Right? So you get all these students and whatever. The reality is, what is going to be most relevant in 2035? You know? Who knows? Nobody knows. So how will you find out what you should be doing in 2033? 35? You'll figure out in 2033. I don't know what's going to be relevant, but do you have the muscle to figure out what you need in 2035, in 2033? That's the question we need to answer, right? How do you build muscles so you can figure out what you need in 2035, in 2033? Nobody knows what the hell is going to be needed. So right now, AI is the key thing. If you don't figure out AI in the next 5 years, you're toast. 100%. Whatever industry you may be. So go figure it out. And don't expect the company to do it for you. You have your Saturdays, you have courses online, pay a little money, buy some licenses, and use the products. Good. Sorry,
Powerful message.
you got me kind of rise up.
So let's go to some non-AI questions.
No, this is a more economics question. I don't know the answer of that question. Labor, supply.
So
Okay, let's.
we'll go in sequence. Yeah. So we go. Pavan Mehul Bhai.
Sorry, disrupted your script, but
No, that's there's no script. There's no script.
Yeah, hi.
It's meant to be a conversation.
yeah. So, and I'm supposed to provoke.
So hi, I'm Pavan from Thermax, and I head up a very futuristic business, which is the green hydrogen business. So my question here is that your reference to startups and entrepreneurship. I in the last 1 year have actually got a lot involved in a lot of startups, and what I see is that the startups which are coming up, they are in variety of areas. And most of them are food delivery, and many of them are now coming up in drones, and many other areas, but not so much in the area of IT and AI. And I know AI startups are struggling today because so that's one part of my question. So what's your thought about these startups which are coming today? And I want to link it up to your experience when you came back to India in 1990 and the situation now. In 1990, when you came back, of course, you kind of laid out your journey in a very secular way, the challenges you had. But obviously, the IT was at a time when it was first starting.
But maybe could be a little
That we can. What's your thought on? Is it an easy thing to have a IT or a AI startup now versus the time that you were there, and how do you look upon that?
No, absolutely. As I just said, right, Mark Zuckerberg is paying $100 million because he thinks there is a future in AI. Why would he? So, yes, absolutely. Actually, in fact, there are enough discussions going on about single person unicorns because of AI. I don't need programmers. I can generate all the code that I need. I can build the entire systems with very few people. It's the cost of building is just the AI cost. Of course, that's very high, but it's not people anymore. So it's much more efficient to build companies today than it has been ever in the past. And you will see that changing. And going back to sort of AI, are we done in that? I give you one more idea in this. So if I were to look at a 10, 15 year sort of head, 10 years sort of whatever, what are the top three things, areas that India should invest in? I would say it's the energy, which you are part of, biology and intelligence. And these three areas, I think next 10 years, like infinite opportunities. So yeah, absolutely, there is no shortage. Why do startups struggle? That's by definition, right? Not all startups were supposed to succeed. Most of them are supposed to fail. The problem we have is that we don't let them fail. So we carry these sort of zombies for a very long time because, you can't shut it down, you can't do this, we give them a little bit of money and then they keep, give them another 50,000 rupees government grant, some stupid 25 lakhs. Sometimes, not working, kill the company. And this whole thing, what it's glamorous to be a startup. All startups work when there's a customer. If there's no customer, where's the startup? So it's a lot of problems on that side. I don't work with startups. I just work with these nano entrepreneurs at scaling business. I leave this big part for the rest of the guys. But yeah, by definition, startups have to fail for new ones to succeed.
actually we're going to talk about this tomorrow. And one of the two of the three winners of this year's Nobel Prize, right? The term that's used is creative destruction. which is not their term. The term comes from the Austrian economist Joseph Schumpeter, sort of going back 80 years. And he talks about creative destruction being the essence of what makes the capitalist system powerful. But you need the destruction for the creativity to flourish. So it's creative destruction. You can't have only I'll just have the creation, the creative.
Yeah, all startups will succeed.
Destruction
Will never happen, right?
Yeah. So the it's part of the same.
So, this is related to this again. We get hung up on this whole thing that, oh, I failed startup. It's good experience.
Yeah.
And today, most of the startups are working on somebody else's money anyway. I put my own money in my business. And, with all the stuff that I shared with you, I could have run away anytime. Yeah, I had a job with the PhD in computer science. I was very marketable. Any day I wanted to do something different, I could. But then you have to kind of be persistent and just grind it out. Right? That's what it is.
So related question to
Mail and print. Yeah, let's
Mail and print. We have a question, but
no, don't ask the AI question. Ask the other question.
Okay, so let me put it this way. What about next way of leading the world? Can Indian industry not be ambitious enough to say that, look, we've created, huge success story in IT, but then AI or not AI, can we not think about leading the world?
This is a Naushad question. Nice books on this topic.
Well,
You did.
yeah. Okay. So
You can choose to answer it now, so answer it later. But this question,
okay. So yes, very much. I'll use the same Nobel Prize winning of this year thing, right? That if you read the citation for Joel Mokyr, one of the key things that he's been cited for, he talks about why the UK had the first industrial revolution. And he says it had the first industrial revolution because of very widespread technical skills that spread across the workforce. And these widespread technical skills were what mattered at that time in the 18th century. And as some of the new technologies like steam engines or the productivity improvements in the textile industry came along, this widespread technical capability is what enabled the economy more widely to take full advantage of that and then actually end up creating this huge need in the world. And the people who've been writing about this Nobel Prize have been talking about how Mokyr's analysis of the UK applies to China now, and that the experience that China has with 100 million people with great production, engineering, and incremental innovation skills creates this hugely powerful engine, right? Now, why am I answering your question like this? If we want to lead the world, right, the way you lead the world, it's a hard slog process. It requires widespread skills and widespread capabilities that need to then be really at work and demonstrated on a mass basis. Yeah, and it's not everyone will ask, what can India do to create the next Apple, right? If you ask me, it's the wrong question. We first need to do exactly what we're now finally doing, which is creating Tata Electronics, growing our base of electronic assembly in a massive way. If we then deepen our supply chains adequately over a period of several years, if we have, as we have now, we have maybe 300,000 people employed in phone assembly. If we end up with a few million people employed in phone assembly and electronic component manufacturing and have a really vibrant enterprise, then we can ask the question, what can we do to create the next Apple?
but I would go further and say, perhaps you don't need the next Apple. maybe the apple would be important.
Maybe
The apple is something else, right? Yeah. So if I had to look at what would be that something else where we should invest, where we have a better chance of success, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I think energy, because if you want to build these micro devices that are going to be everywhere, they're going to need small energy, the right place, the right time for the longest life and whatever else. I'm very excited about what biology can do here. Right? So I don't believe the next generation of computing is going to be all about a device and electronic. It may not be an electronic computer. It may be a biocomputer for all you know. Right? So we don't know what's going to be the relevant thing in 2035. Right? But who's going to make that relevant thing, like he pointed out, are going to be people who are relevant at that point so they can make the right things. And here, I think we need to go push very hard and not take the defeatist view and be aggressive and be ambitious. Yeah. If we do the right things right now, in the next 5 to 7 years, we'll see a difference. Correct?
Good evening. I am Prem. I am working with Forbes Marshall. So the question is around, you said that around 2008, you have chosen a market in which you want.
2001, I focused on this thing. That's when I thought about doing this. We were doing things before that also.
Yeah. And then I also understand you work on a core competence, meaning the difference is coding and all. So my question is, two questions actually related. One, where today the company is on that, or is there any change into that further taking a next step? And how you worked with the leadership team and the culture within organization to achieve this goal. And now as you are out, do you see any difference in that, or how it is sustained?
he's not a best.
Thing is the CEO is handling that person.
Okay, so but
I think you still persistent every day.
but
Can you work?
Let me explain to you both of those things. So first thing is that, company goes through different things. We are in our 6th orbit right now. Okay. At a $1.5 billion that we are running right now, aspirations to get to 2 billion very soon. We cannot pick these small areas now. So we have 3 broad areas. But if you look at our story, in every market that we play, we want to be or aspire to be or claim to be a leader in that market. Yeah, and we get good banding because we are considered leaders in specific things. We don't play everything, but wherever we play as a leader. That's what we've done, and we have done this at every stage. And I said we've gone through the 6th orbit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every orbit I could share with you what happened, how did it change, why did it happen, and all that. So that's a different discussion. Today we will not be able to go through. The second point regarding, leadership and leadership style and all those kinds of things, I'll give you 2 ideas about what I believe in or what I will tell you, but I'll tell you what I do now. So I moved out of my CEO job. I was very hands-on, CEO, founder, CEO, whatever, till 2019, 2020. And I talked to a lot of people who were my contemporary, because I said I was one of the younger ones in the IT industry. All the other guys were senior Johnnies, right? So I asked them, what happened, what did it work, what didn't work, and all that. So I got 2 pieces of advice, which I followed very carefully, and that worked for me. First thing is, they told me, make sure you have enough other things to do. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to interfere. Because you got to do something. So I made sure I have enough things to do. My plate is overflowing. And I'm having fun doing what I'm doing. Okay? So I don't have time for persistence, honestly. Okay. Second thing they say is,
Does persistence say the same thing?
yeah, no, it does. It is actually important for them. You cannot run a company as a multi-headed monster. So what they told me, and which is what I followed, is that you talk to the CEO. So I talk to the CEO every week for about an hour. When I listen to him, I don't monitor him. It's his job to run the company. I can always fire the CEO if that's the goal somewhere else. But if the CEO, if I give the guy the keys to run, he has to drive the car. I cannot be doing it. He has to take all the decisions. So I don't interfere in his thing. I don't monitor him. I don't track him. That's not my job. I just let him run. He just keeps me posted because I don't want to be surprised with some crazy things that can come on you. So that's one part. The second related thing they told me is, don't talk to anyone, especially N-1 and N-2 of the CEO. Okay. All they will tell you is that CEO is screwing up. Just don't listen to them. Don't talk to any of them. Okay. Because You'll come and say, oh, when you were doing this is so much better, this has coming, is great. Just don't talk to anybody. So I don't talk to anyone in the company. So I have a floor in the building. I sit there. I do all these random things. I talk to a lot of people. I think about new things. And I'm now in a mode where, and you like this. So I don't manage. In my job as CEO, I was managing tasks. This has to be done. This customer, you have to call up, this, that. Now I manage time. I don't worry about tasks. Certain tasks don't get done. Life's like that. If you want to meet me and I don't have in my calendar, if you don't fit it, then sorry, it doesn't matter. So I'm managing my calendar very carefully, not so much what I have to do. So my tasks are not relatively relevant today to me, at least. So I decide what I want to spend my time on, and I want to make sure my time is used in learning and contributing and doing whatever I feel is good for me, and I'm very selfishly doing that.
Sounds like good prescription.
Yeah.
So you pass it to Ranjan. Yeah.
No, so I not so much the question, just trying to put some aspects of the conversation forward. Multiple times you said that I had the PhD, so I could go back. So for an entrepreneur, because this is true for me also at least 3 bills, I find I've done best when I know there's a very strong plan B, and therefore the cost of things going dramatically wrong if current assignments are low. It allows me to take, and I get to use this pun, to be more persistent. But plan B in the role of a plan B for entrepreneurs.
Actually, you should have one just to make sure that you did. But yeah, I mean, it's a distant plan B. I never see after I got my Microsoft project, I never felt I needed to execute the plan B. If I had not gotten it, maybe I had only 2 times. One was when I was not getting a space at all. I said, about that. Then I spent last 6 months at 28 just sitting around waiting from moving one file from the other plane, going to Mumbai to check email. How stupid can it be? Right? So I was quite frustrated at that point. Yeah, I mean, I knew I said, okay, fine, let me, whatever. This would happen. And the second time, if I had gotten the Microsoft project and all my customers had tanked, then I would have had to think about something. But after that, I never thought of another plan. But yes, and my plan B was that I told my professor that, hey, if I come back, will you give me a job? He said, yeah, Diana Bloom, yeah, no big deal. I'll give you a RA-ship, something. It's very easy for them to do.
It's an interesting perspective because, very often there's this perspective of, the phrase that a friend of ours uses is burn your boats, right? You commit yourself so deeply to something that, there's no going back. You can only move on and go forward and so on. But having a plan B can actually be an encouragement to be more adventurous.
So I never found it that way, both when I started on my own and left Yavas, but even in jobs. If you feel strongly about something and you want to take on, let's say, go to a Deepak Parekh and say, this is wrong, this is dishonest. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
You leave the job. As long as you're doing something, it enables you to follow your ethics at a more deep level because, there are certain stuff that there are 20 people whose jobs are depending on you. So
So I'll tell you a related story, and this may relate to other people as well. It's not just entrepreneurship. So when you are a small business like Persistent has been, was, or whatever, you hire some people that say, oh, what is my job security? Right? So I would tell them that what is job security? It's your ability to find the next job. Right? That's job security.
That's a perfect definition.
It's not about how long I can keep you in my job, right? I might fire you. But if you are skilled enough that you can find your next job, that is job security. So it's your responsibility, every single person's responsibility to maintain that job security. So I get fired in the most inconvenient manner on the day I didn't want to be fired. Well, you have a 2 weeks of buffer, 4 weeks of cash, and then you find another job, right? If you are in demand, everyone will hire you. And it's your responsibility to make sure you are current. If you are not, you are toast.
So can I just supplement then? I shall hold my piece. But 2 pieces. So take 2 pieces. One is, I've been telling MBA students this before my current for 9 years. think employability is their only job security. They don't get it, but it's kind of the second thing, and this is for the entire group, which is related to something you said, which is an idea that I've been propounding for some time now. That many families have a budget for food, they have a budget for clothing. The single most important thing for your earnings for the next 30 years is your learning.
Correct.
How many people in this room have a budget for their own learning? So having a personal learning budget, I think, becomes an imperative in the case, in the light of some of the things you're saying, which is like, I'd say 5% of your annual income set aside for your own learning.
And today the budget requirements are very low. Okay. You can just sit on ChatGPT and learn whatever you want to do. So I think it's worthwhile asking, how do you learn? Why do you learn? What's your method for learning? So those are all things that you should push people on saying, how do you learn? So ask people to learn something that they have no idea about. And yeah, it's a good project.
Harpreet, and then I'll come back. Right? Yeah.
So I work with Goprit Bombay, and one of the things which is common is I'm from BHL. My father is from BHL Bhopal. Instead of Kantian, I studied in Kamal. So
My sister was there.
so
Where did you live in Bhopal?
Goalpura in BHL.
So we lived in Barkheda. So you are from Godrej Boys, the manufacturing side.
Yes.
So another classmate of mine from my school is there. So Anil Lingai.
Yes, I think like that. Because school is January.
No, he wasn't captain.
Yeah, later. Yeah. So I'll just had two questions, and one question is to do with if we're going to look at the world as it is progressing in future. So a lot of mental health condition issues which are obviously being understood and all of that, and from AI's lens, how we can tackle or stop or prevent and help people overcome some of these issues or prolong the coming up of these issues is something which could be a great opportunity, which I'm coming from HR context, so hence I'm saying can be a great way of looking at it things for future. And second part is a related part that you talked about people at 40s. Similarly, I feel people at 50s and 60s, we have a longer life expectancy. So how do we help them transition to look forward to future? And I thought, since you talked about it, it might be good to hear again your views on it.
So, after you answer, Anand, Ranjan should also answer, because to the first question, he shook his head, and to the second question, he nodded.
You can give them the mic. No, but I'm there with them for 45 years. Yeah, you get it.
But Anand has to.
So regarding the mental health part, I'm not really an expert in this topic. Okay, so I'm a tool maker. I understand tools, and I believe that these tools can be useful for can help you with mental health issues, but can also hurt you with mental health issues. So I do agree that AI is not necessarily. There are enough people who will get messed up because of AI also. But really, I'm not an expert in this topic, and my saying anything would not be the right thing to say at this point. So I'm going to kind of move on from that question. There are other people who have better opinions on this. Regarding your question about why do I think people in the mid-40s are unhappy, is because and I can go back to what my framework is as well, and we'll come back to that. But the reality is that, when young people start in companies, and the way we are trained, we said it third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 10th. This is the whole thing. When people come to work, show me your career path, so you keep showing career path. So at a point of time, you get into a situation where you realize that the pyramid is now squeezed and you don't have enough opportunities. That happens in your mid-40s. Till then, everyone who's in the 30s thinks he's going to become the CEO, because the pyramid that you have in your, the HR people will show you the career paths, right? Sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to CEO. Everyone thinks he's going to be the CEO. But there's only one CEO in a company. So several people are not going to make the CEO. That realization, unfortunately, people have in their mid-40s. That's when they say, oh shit, I'm not going to be where I need to be. Oh, this world is so bad. Let me do something different. I go jump around. And then after a while, they say, okay, chill, man. That's not going to happen. I can still live a good life. And then life is okay after that. Till you get to 60. And at 60, you retire and you say, oh, what should I do now? And they do sofa sun. Basically sit on sofa and click their buttons. That's a different thing. Well, let me sort of give you a slightly different, better way of saying how do you manage it. So I really believe that those of you who are retiring at 60, and I recommend 60 as a good retirement age because otherwise other people will not come in, right? So that's fine. So if you are going to retire, you should plan your retirement at least 5 years in advance of retirement. And unless you find something to do where you can be in the right place after your retirement, after you retire, nobody's going to ask you anything. So if you have to set yourselves up for it. So I mean, a lot of guys, this I met somebody who was fairly senior in the company, right? He said, oh, after retirement, I want to go help startups. So why would startups want to get help from you, right? You have been running a big company. What do they think about startups? So startups, it's not like startups are waiting to, oh, we are waiting for these honorable 60-year-olds who are going to come and give me advice. They don't want that. So you have to set yourselves up. And if you don't do this right, life can be tough. And I'm right now 63, right? So I said 35 years back, I was 28. So I do see that. And you had something you wanted to add. So I didn't know.
You want to comment? If you like, sure. Yeah, yes. It's current. So one, there's a book recommend to everybody, Jonathan Haidt, The Absent Generation. Essentially, there is enough research now to say that if you give access to social media to young kids between the age of 13 and 16, their mental health will be significantly worse. The issue is much worse for teenage girls than teenage boys because the frequency of looks and body related comparison for teenage girls is much more. So one very simple thing, I think AI is going to make it worse. But I think social access to social media between the age of 13 and 16, you can restrict. That's one piece. There is something I'm asking people in the university to do, which is that everything we are doing in mental health is what I call preventive mental health. Is curative mental health. And we wait for somebody to come up with a problem and then we are looking at it. So what is a model of the drivers of preventive mental health? I've identified a few very tentatively. Quality and quality of regular sleep is one. Social connections is another. Low frequency of frequent social comparison. Frequent social comparison is a problem. So there are, I've asked somebody to work on a model, but basically 7 to 8 things. And then collect data. And then we want to be able to track and build all of these. So ability to regulate your relationship with technology, I think is a definite one. Positive role models is another one. Friends and connections is one. Sleep is another. Nutrition, so I think we can build 6 or 7 things, and if we track that, hopefully at Nayanta we can build a preventive. I mean, you at 5 years, I think I'll have a model that's a working model. But I've at least given you you must get everybody in an organization to see a video called How We Sleep When at Work.
It sounds, Rajan, I would only strongly encourage that. I mean, it's very powerful to do. Then after end, I think we should take the last 2 questions because I see 2 hands. We'll go one back.
Let's do questions first. Let's take both the questions and then we can choose to. We take both and then let's take the questions and we may or may not answer them.
Yeah. Well, you could do what some of our politicians do with amazing capability. You take the questions, then you answer whatever you want to answer.
There's always that.
So now the earlier conversation you mentioned that enjoy people your career. Different unit like were the example our secretary and he piled them up to 30 years. And now he remembered. No, you will per picks with a narrow picks that it story the break. So many of them
Yeah, absolutely. Meaning he was. There's too many of them, sir. We'll take the other question.
Radhika's question also. Yeah.
My question was, you did break this up while, we were sharing the experience of this. The divide between the haves and have-nots is going to increase with technology. And at the same time, we are trying to, through technology, make, and scalable accessibility as a core, in the technologies that get trying to put out for the social aspects of, the society. How are we going to really balance the two? Because it's not that not everybody has access to that kind of learning which will enable them to be employable till the scenarios that are going to unfold.
Economics question.
What? Why are all the questions you can't answer suddenly economic? Enlightening ourselves.
It is like technology.
All right.
Traffic piece of technology, actually.
You are the guru on these topics.
So, I think learning capabilities require a certain base level of knowledge. So you're quite right. I mean, um, the more capabilities you have. I mean, Anand, very good example, right? Um, you have a PhD that demonstrates high learning capabilities, and that says that you have then the ability to take on and learn many more new things, and that gives you both a sense of confidence that you can master new issues and new topics. And it also gives you very practical capabilities where you can anchor. You know that for that one brief instant when one finished one's PhD, one was the world expert on whatever small, narrow topic it was that one had studied for one's PhD. So, you have that anchor. So you have that confidence. For someone who doesn't have any education, it's much tougher. That's when you need social safety nets. That's when actually relatively unskilled work becomes so important, because the unskilled work is what can create, I think, that confidence that you can take on and do something, and you learn certain basic skills and so on, which can hopefully then transport over to something new. But where do you start for us as a country with a population of 1.4 billion? Sounds like a very good grand challenge problem, by the way. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. So, it's a whole hierarchy. Yeah. It's a whole hierarchy. And where in that hierarchy you are, makes a big difference. So, yeah. On the other question.
Yeah. So again, I know there are lots of stories, of course. And so one thing though, I've been thinking a lot in the last 5 to 7 years after I moved from the CEO job. I'll tell you the difference. I've been thinking a lot more. So before that, I have been running these Saturday meetings since 2007-8 or so. So this is like Seva time that, we should do a little bit of Seva. So every Saturday I would sit 4 hours, talk to at least 4 or 5 companies, people, whatever. Somebody would set up a time, Saturday, you come, I meet you, and 30 minutes, whatever you want, I get it done in 30 minutes. And after you're gone, you're next. I degauss myself and keep moving. This was my portal. And I don't think about you after that. I was doing that. But after a while, when I started getting into this new word, I'm saying I'm going to be impactful and long term. I said, this onesies and twosies help one company, another company. It's sort of not scalable. So I said, okay, let me go focus on building systems and techs so that we can do this at scale. So that's where I moved from this. On the Dayasar thing, now we have 440,000 businesses that are in the network that we have helped somewhere or the other. We have like all kinds of systems for these nano entrepreneurs. Again, very focused, and I can spend enough hours time to tell you what we are doing there. But I'm very, very thrilled with what we have achieved, but what can be done as well. And going back to your question and whatever, see, I really, really believe that, we are heading into a place where we have a lot of work, but no jobs. And it's going to be everybody's responsibility to figure out how to convert that. And it's a mindset issue amongst us. We have 3 skills. Means you are Nayanta, I'll tell you this. We created a 3-credit course with 3 credits. 1 credit on mindset, because you have to believe that, you can create work to jobs. And one good example of framework is the jobs to be done from Christensen and all that. There's a good way of thinking about it and how do you convert work to jobs. Second is, how do you manage your own money? Because all the kids will make more money than their parents. Everyone will have money. But you'll not get paid every month. You'll get paid when the work is done. So what does it mean? Where do you invest? How do you keep that fund for learning? All that. So people need to think about what money means and be comfortable with that. And the third thing is that I really believe that the most important skill in any world at all times is sales. If you can sell, you succeed. If you can't sell, you are dead. So everyone needs to be taught how to sell. And this is I don't know why we live in this world where even MBA, everyone else, they all talk about marketing, this, that, and other thing. Is at the end of it, it's tactical sale. Unless somebody buys from me, there is no commerce. So we have these hang-ups. I'm the engineer. I can't do sales. Somebody says sales wale ne kuch kar diya. We have so many hang-ups about being very proud. I call myself a very proud salesman. I'm really good at selling. Okay. And yeah, I really believe in it. And I think people need to understand that selling is the most important skill. You sell all the time. And we should not be ashamed of calling ourselves a salesman. So this is my third credit. So this is what I'm doing. Going back to stories, yeah, there are lots of them. So we have about 1,000 companies to maybe 2,000 companies I would have influenced through my second orbit strategy. And I have very clear framework. So I'm not a consultant. I'm not a guy who is a counselor. I'm not the guy who sits and listens to you and helps you do what you do. I give you a framework. Go do this and mostly it works. So that's a good one, but it makes things very easy. So this is how I operate. So I have a framework on how to scale your business, and I'm trying to do a new one. And this one is again another one. We have identified all problems that small businesses might need, and for all problems we have. So let me give you what I do. Right? It may be easier for you. So we figured that these small businesses have 5 kinds of access issues: access to credit, access to market, access to technology, access to talent, and access to compliance rules, all the other things. Now, if you break this down, access to market, oh yeah, I could be online, I could be Insta, this, that. So you create these sub-processes. We have 130 processes that we have identified. Some of them apply to one category, some apply, whatever. But this is the superset. And if you find something we don't have, we'll add one more. And for each of these processes have 4 things. One is a checklist. Are you there? Second, DIY, get it. How do you get it done? Oh, it's too complicated, I can't do it. I have a network of people who will get it done for you. And then we want to benchmark. And this is like a full grid that we are trying to fill in. Okay. And you are stuck somewhere. You come to me. I have a place you find yourself and go with yourself. This is what we are trying to do. And I can't create mentorship and all. It's too complicated. It's also not scalable. So if we have to have tens of millions of people who have to benefit from such a thing, we need to find. There are only by the infinite number of people, the places that they get stuck is still finite. So there are 10 things you get. Everyone gets stuck at the same points. But we all know what those 10 points are. But we still get stuck in that. Every one of them, all our businesses, you really distill it down. There's like 4 or 5 issues, right? Every business, same problems. Everyone knows the problems. But we still get stuck in it. Okay. So this is what we do.
Sounds great. Very mindful. We're well past time.
No, I have no problems, but I know we don't want to hold people on.
No, but I think we should.
Yeah, I think we should start on time, end on time is a good thing. So I'll just give you one last thing. My email address is anand@persistent.com. Send me mail. Most of them I answer. If I don't answer, send again.
Okay.
Yeah. You could do.
Okay, that happened. Okay, that was not. Okay, of course, all of us growing up at that point read their cartoon every morning. So there was a guy in my company who we had hired, who was, was doing marketing and other. He went to New Zealand after that, right? So he was working there, and he said, would you like to invite R.K. Lakshman? And we have a nice auditorium and all that. So he will come. I said, will he come? I can't pay him. Yeah, I'll bring him. I said, okay, wonderful, let's do it. So if you are doing such a big event with R.K. Lakshman, the greatest, why don't we send some friendlies to people who we know? And that's how he got invited. Rest of the guys most of them were company people, and some people from outside. And he was very generous with his time. He was very gracious. He was very sweet. He drew a cartoon. He took there were no selfies at that. Otherwise, everybody didn't have selfies. But he was very generous at this time. And he is a very wonderful guy. And for those of you who are in Pune or from outside, go to the R.K. Lakshman Museum. I don't know if you've been.
It's on the bypass.
Have you been to one of them? Any of you been there?
It's on the bypass. It's
near Balewari High Street. It's not very far from there. It's a nice 2-3 hour thing. And his daughter-in-law, Usha, has been running it. And she's looking for money right now. And the way she's raising the money on the 7th of November, she has A.R. Rahman playing at Gaunje Stadium. And some of that is got about to her. So go watch Rahman.
And she charges royalties if you want to use his cartoons, which she used to.
Yeah, so she's trying to monetize here. There's work, there's value, sales.
Yeah.
You should do it. Sales. I'm all for such things. There are people who are willing to pay. You should charge them money.
What are your reading habits?
But I'll tell you what they have transformed over the years. Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, the way I operate, I'm big into podcasts right now. So I'm listening to lots of podcasts all the time, right? And I'll give you two things that may be related. So I've been listening to lots of podcasts, and I believe that the only way the authors will write more books is people buy the books. So anytime I listen to the podcast, I get the summary of the book. Most of the times, a lot of authors come on this. I hear somebody talk about it. They refer a book. I go online, go to Kindle and buy it. It's very easy now. It's like 500 rupees. I feel good that I tax the apps. So this is what I do right now. But as I said, most of the books, the author in their 30 minutes gives such a beautiful summary that you don't really need to read the book. Because a lot of times that 30 minutes is loaded into other pages. So I've been reading a lot less, but I have the books on Kindle. I remember he said something. I search a lot. And I'm a big, so again, going back to this learning thing as well, I'll give you the story. So I have some tools I use, which I can recommend to other people also. So I do a lot of mind maps. So I use a tool called XMind, which I really like. And I have lots of things in XMind. And the other thing I do is I use Notion a lot. I don't know if you've used Notion. It's Notion.so. It's a very nice personal data. It's a personal wiki. It's beautiful. I have pretty much everything in there. If I read something, I clip it, I push it into that. I have an MCP on top of it. I can do AI against my Notion and all. So very cool stuff that I know my second brain sort of is working there. So that's another good book to read, is Second Brain by Diego Forte. Okay, now if I were to say, which is the books that I've gifted the most? Because I like to gift books as well. So every time I see a book, it's cool, I go buy 10 copies of it. And somebody comes to me, I just gift them a book. It's kind of easy, and like these days books don't cost that much. So it feels good. It's a conversation. So the book that I have gifted the most in the business context would be Ram Charan's What Every CEO Wants You to Know. I know how many of you have read that book. It's a brilliant book. It's a very short book. It's like you can read it on a 2-hour plane, right? Talks about cash flows. And he talks about his own story of how he grew up in Agra. Ram Charan, of course, is Ram Charan. Like he's brilliant. All his books are brilliant. So anytime he writes a book, I buy it. But I've read most of his books, but this one is the most brilliant book that he has written. This is probably his earliest ones. It's pretty old now. So this is one book that I would recommend. The other book that I have gifted a lot is the one that for especially young people and students is this book on how to build your life, how to design your life. This is I should look it up. I'll tell you the name. Yeah. Bill Burnett and Designing Your Life. So that's the name of the book. So that's a book I've gifted to lots of very young people. And also people in the middle age who get stuck, right? So I like the framework of how they have done it. So what they have done is they have taken design thinking and applied it to life, right? So brilliantly written, lots of very good ideas. That's the other book that I gift a lot, right? So that's been the last two books. So last few books that I found most interesting, most recent one that I've read half of it and not finished it is the book by Rajiv Kanetkar and his wife Madhuri Kanetkar. So there's this book about growing together without growing apart. You know Madhuri, right? No? Okay, so this is Lieutenant General Rajiv Kanetkar and his wife, Lieutenant General Dr. Madhuri Kanetkar. Amazing. She's right now the Vice Chancellor of MUHS. She retires at the end of this month. But being two Lieutenant Generals together, they were not together. He was senior to her by 5 years. So he became Lieutenant General and she became Lieutenant General retired. They were not at the same time, but husband and wife becoming Lieutenant General, this is the first time this is the case in her. She's a brilliant lady and so is he, right? So he's written this book about, very nicely written. So how two people in the marriage, how both of them created adjustments for themselves without compromising their career ambition. Both of them became LG, right? A lot of places, one guy gives up, the other one doesn't. But how they managed and all that. Brilliantly. It's a very differently written book, but that's the last book I wrote. The most recent book that I ordered just on my way in was this How to Spend Money, the new book that the guy who wrote Psychology of Money, he has written this new book. Morgan Housel. So he's written this book, just recently launched, whatever. So I got 15 copies of it today. So next few people who come to my office will get one of those. But yeah, I like the Morgan Housel book. I also like Shane Parrish a lot. So I follow his books. I like his models book a lot. I listen to him as well. He's pretty good. So I read in these kinds of genres, and then I read tech stuff a lot. So I'm very much, so again, going back to this learning thing. So every year, sort of, I find, so I've been using these flame guys in a way as a my thing. So he invites me for a talk, and they have this conference, and they invite me for a talk. So I try to pick a topic I have no idea about. It's like, great. Then it puts me under pressure, and then I have to figure that out. So I create a mind map, different topics. I listen to lots of podcasts, and then I fill that in as you go along. And then my goal in all these learning is to convert it into a 10-minute pitch, 1 hour pitch, and a 6 hours pitch. And so I should be able to talk about 6 hours, so they need the depth. But I should be able to abstract it enough so I can give you a 10-minute blurb on that topic. So last few years, it takes 1 or 2 years of thinking for this one. So I spent a lot of time on this whole blockchain, decentralized, DeFi, all that shit, right? So really detailed into that. Then I did the same thing with bio. So synthetic biology, why is biology, all this stuff. So it's very good stuff. Now, last few years, I've been spending a lot of time in AI. So every day I listen to like what's happening, and then I correlate that with where I am and how that might affect something else. So it's a lot of very deliberate learning plan. So that's what I've been doing.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you very much.